Dr. Jeff Sadow, political science professor at Louisiana State University in Shreveport, and a fellow who, like most of America, anxiously awaits this evening's debate. I'm not wrong about that, am I, Dr. Jeff?
Yeah, it'd be interesting trying to negotiate both the debate and the Saints on tonight.
What people are saying 100 million will watch. Is that crazy numbers?
No, yeah, that's crazy. Debates typically draw fairly good audiences. I think the highest of all time have been the 30-40 million range. So, yeah, 100 million is a little out there.
The big thing I've been looking at this weekend, Trump's not preparing. He's not doing dry runs. He's not studying, or he's not ready. I tend to think that that's probably just something that the Trump campaign is putting out there to lull people into to lower expectations. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, we have to understand that it's never been Trump's style to sit down and pour over details for hours and hours. He's a manager essentially. That's been his career. He wants the big picture. Leaves the details to others to implement. So, in that sense, in a debate format where often details are looked for, that's not his forte. But then again, he didn't get to where he is or has as a nominee by pursuing that kind of strategy, very detailed exposition of whatever. So, I don't see any reason for him to change at this point.
What will you be looking for particularly tonight?
Well, myself personally, I'm most interested in fact, some of those things we just talked about, how Trump would respond to some of the more detailed nuances of policy. I expect there'll be a few forays in that direction, but not an overwhelming amount. We're probably going to see a lot more of that from Clinton as a result. I think people, more generally, the audience is looking for, in terms of Trump, looking for how he projects himself as a political leader. I mean, we've known Trump in many different forms out there, and this would be a new one for many people. So I think just that projection of leadership, and as someone in elected office, not as a reality game show, whatever he's done in the past, those kinds of things. 90
minutes, no cough breaks, no bathroom breaks, standing. The big question about Hillary is she physically up to that task?
Yeah, I mean, there are legitimate questions, that have arisen over the last couple of weeks, and certainly that's going to be one of the objectives of the campaign, is to have her appear, well, steady, none of those, no hint of any potential health problems. They're certainly going to try and create that projection.
What kinds of problems could happen tonight? How could each of them stub their toe to cause voters to change their mind? What could be a big issue that would worry you?
Well, for example, Clinton tends to get defensive when certain questions are raised about her, such as the trustworthiness issue and all that. That's something that she probably wants to avoid. Again, the public as a whole don't see her as trustworthy, and being defensive and trying to explain stuff away in any complicated manner is probably not going to work well for her. With Trump, of course, his spontaneity is a double-edged sword, and you never know what he's going to say. And one of the things that generally in these presidential debates that the candidates always want to avoid, which have been the most consequential moments of these kinds of things, are when some kind of gaffe is made, and he, his style is that there's more of a risk that he would do something like that.
Since tonight's debate is up against the Saints in Monday Night Football, I'll use a lame football analogy. I tend to think both are going to be in prevent defense, that they're both going to play it so close to the vest. I think it's probably most likely going to be a lot more boring than anybody suspects. You?
Well, with Trump in a debate, I'm not sure that any debate ever would be boring, at least not for all 90 minutes of it. I don't know that it's his style to do that. They may, his campaign staff may encourage him to operate in that prevent defense mode. Whether he can do it for 90 minutes, I don't know about that.
Well, let me ask you this. He has said some things offensive to women over his many years in his career and even in the campaign. What can he do tonight to attract women who are like really skeptical about him?
Again, I think it's this projection of calm, mature leadership. It again maybe goes a little against his personality. In some senses, a lot of people kind of look at Trump as like Biden, who's said a number of Vice President Joe Biden, who said a number of interesting things over the years, and you kind of get this sense, oh, that's just Joe Biden. Probably a lot of people, if something like that comes out with Trump, are going to say the same thing about Trump. In terms of those people that are already skeptical about him, that may not do him a whole lot of good, but it would probably minimize any potential damage. But I think, again, just a projection of mature political leadership ought to help him.
Moderator tonight, Lester Holt, NBC News. I think it's safe to say a network that leans to the left. Holt, a newsman who off camera certainly leans far to the left. Do you think that Trump can get a fair shake?
I think more than the typical candidate, he probably will, in the sense that if some question or comment or whatever he thinks is biased, that's something he'd shoot back at. That's something you rarely see other presidential candidates have ever done. I think he'd be the kind of guy to do that, and that would just make it more obvious. It would magnify that to the audience. So I don't think that's going to be a problem for him.
Dr. Jeffrey Sadow, betting man, going to see a lot of substance on a 1 to 10 scale. Going to hear about a lot of substance,
or fireworks,
or just another reality show.
Well, a little bit both, but the thing about these presidential debates is that just as far as the public goes, they generally remember very little in terms of policy that comes from it, or discussions of it. They're very little in terms of just overall details, and so that's not necessarily something that is going to make an impact on the typical viewer of those kinds of things. They're looking more for style. They're looking for trying to find a reason to like and vote for the candidates, and that usually for a lot of people just doesn't revolve around policy. So if you had to pick between the two things, probably a little more in the way of fireworks.
That's sad. The reason we vote for people is not because of policy.
No, that's one of the unfortunate truths is when we look at the things that people typically consider when they vote. Something we call candidate image, projections of leadership experience and the like. That's usually for the plurality of people, at least that's the number one reason, and the reason at the end of the line is issues, ideology.